Welcome in to episode 4 of the Cardboard Critics podcast, and happy Father's Day from here at the Hollywood Rips studio. Thanks for joining us one more time. I'm Mr. Hollywood, that's Joe Nasty, and hopefully this time our audio and B&C camera feeds will cooperate with us this time. But a busy week in the world of sports and sports cards. The Celtics hold a 3-1 edge over the Mavericks in the NBA Finals. The Stanley Cup ledger stands 3-1 in favor of the Florida Panthers. Joey Chestnut was banned from seeking his 17th mustard belt at the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating contest. And of course, we've got our hot and cold sports cards of the week that have been driving market prices. Jonas, we'll start with the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Porzingis now down and out for the Celtics as they look to put the finishing touches on the Mavs, although dropping Game 4, as well as the Panthers dropping Game 4 against the Oilers. Is it pucker time for either of these two teams?
For the Celtics, no. We talked about right before the series that, to me, it felt inevitable that I was being positive. I was like, maybe it goes 6. Honestly, it'll probably be a 5-game series, and it's pretty much primed for that. They go back to Boston. Game 4, the Celtics looked like a team that was basically feeling within themselves, let's just go home and celebrate with our fans. I'm honestly surprised that Dallas put in that effort just to fly back to Boston and to fly immediately back. I'm not too worried. Florida, on the other hand, and the Panthers, it's interesting because they've played really well, and I've been really impressed with their toughness and the way that they've scored their goals, fighting through bodies, fighting for pucks, getting to the front of the net. But then the Oilers showed in Game 4 what's so scary about them, and it's their explosive ability, winning 8-1 in what was the largest margin of victory in an elimination game we've ever seen. The odds say the Panthers are fine, but you know that it's in there for the Oilers, and that's what makes me a little bit more nervous for the Panthers' chances.
Yeah, I think the Celtics-Mavericks series is a lot more over than the Panthers-Oilers series.
I agree.
In my opinion, especially considering home ice, home court, whatnot. I can't see the Mavericks winning a game in Boston. I just can't.
No.
I really just can't. But we're going to move forward from that. And once again, the MLB standings have remained unchanged yet again. All division leaders remain the same. Was hoping for a little more early season drama, but nothing doing yet. Jonas, your thoughts on the past week of baseball?
Yeah, this is more going to be a point, and I'll probably say this again as our show goes on and as we go on through the summer. I just hate the third wild card, the new rule that was instituted a few years ago. There's no reason why 20 out of the 30 teams, but 20 mediocre to just bad teams are fighting for playoff position. The argument is, more cities, more fan bases are plugged in for the whole year. No, actually what they've done is incentivize teams to not have to try. You don't have to try. You can still stay in a playoff race. You can still make the playoffs, get playoff revenue, and yes, then you make the playoffs. Maybe you go on a miracle run. But should teams that are 500 or worse than 500 really be fighting for playoff positioning? Or at least this many? I say no. Fans of like Milwaukee or Milwaukee's good, but you know what I mean, like Cincinnati, you're going to say, no, this keeps more people involved. I don't really care. I don't want to see these mid to terrible teams fighting for playoff positioning.
Yeah, especially when in the MLB playoffs, we've had so much talk lately about the playoffs not necessarily being a matter of what your roster is composed of or how many good players you put on the field every game, right? It's a who gets hot at what time.
Right.
And if we have a team that's 500 getting into the playoffs and beating one of the best teams in the league, is that necessarily rewarding the best teams for being the best? No,
Right.
It's not. But we're going to move into our hobby news part of this week's show. We had several big topics, but we're going to focus this week on Fanatics and PWCC. Last year, Fanatics purchased PWCC Marketplace and all of its affiliated subsidiaries. A lot of people thought it was to expand in the hobby, utilize PWCC for their own auctions. Well, turns out it was actually all to further monopolize for Fanatics. They announced this week that they will be discontinuing the PWCC brand, retiring it, and all of its primary functions and replacing it with their own sales marketplace named Fanatics Collect. It'll be effective this summer, and furthermore, Fanatics announced a huge partnership with Sotheby's Auction House, the premier auction house in the world, for all of their auction items with values of $100,000 or more. The streamlining clearly getting more intense as newer, bigger relationships with other multi-billion-dollar companies continue to push more eggs into the Fanatics basket. I want to ask you, Jonas, is this too much power for one company to have over the hobby as a whole? Should we be worried? Should we be excited about this? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to say yes. And I started to read the press release on the Fanatics website, and I just got so bored with all the corporate speak and all the lingo and all the partnership and innovation lingo. It was so whitewashed I couldn't even handle it. First things first, it is cool that this sort of shows that this is a hobby and this is something that is still pretty... It's a big deal. Like, it's still something to invest in. If Sotheby's getting involved, they want to auction this stuff, it's a big deal. And it's not going away. But yes, anytime you don't have competition, it's not a good thing. Life, sports, business, whatever. If no one's going to check you, then you're basically able to do whatever you want. And not that this is the same thing, but I'm going to use the same company. Look at what Fanatics has done to the MLB uniforms. They're terrible. The lettering's too small. You can see people through their pants.
Isn't that a Nike problem?
But Fanatics is manufacturing it. And the whole thing is that Nike basically said, let us put our swoosh on it. But Fanatics, you got this. It's a Fanatics issue. They're not being stepped to. And we see the result. And this is not the first time we've heard this about this company. So,
yeah, I think you do have to take it with a grain of salt a bit. I think we all have some sort of concern about Fanatics being the only player in the company. I think they've done a lot of good things.
sure.
But for example, something like that, it's just impossible for them to necessarily make the right choice, let's just say, every single time. And it just gets magnified when you're the only one.
Sure.
When you're the only one in the room. But I do like Sotheby's. I do like the partnership with Sotheby's being kind of the premier auction house in the world. They've been selling pieces of artwork for tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars forever. To me, it kind of takes the world of sports cards and says, hey, we're here. And the sports card world as an investment vessel going forward is here to stay.
Yeah.
And I like that partnership.
I agree with you. I wrote the word viable here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we're going to move into our sports card market update for this week. We can see the overall market according to the top 500 sports cards in existence, taking into account cards like the 52 Mantle, 86 Fleer Jordan, the Gretzky O-Pee-Chee rookie, the Jackie 48 Leaf rookie card, up this week to the tune of 0.3%. Taking a look at baseball, 20 to 18. What is wrong with me? 2018 to 2020 cards and 1990s cards had a rough week, down 2.4% and 3.6% respectively. But 2010 to 2017 had a nice uptick of 2.6%. 80s, 70s, and 60s, as well as vintage, remained somewhat flat this week. Taking a look now at basketball cards, 2018 to 2020, I almost said it again, dropped 1.8%, as well as 1990s hoops cards shedding about 1% this week. But where we saw a lot of movement was 80s basketball cards. After being up pretty significantly last week, we see it down 5% this week. And lastly, the gridiron football cards had a busy week as well, as we continue to inch closer to the start of the NFL season. 2010 through 2017 and 2000 through 2009 football cards, that's Tom Brady's rookie card era, seeing big 3.8 and 7.7% jumps this week respectively. 1980s football cards and 79 and earlier remaining somewhat flat. You know, some days you just wake up and you just struggle to speak English.
Yes.
I'm having one of those days.
I feel that. It's interesting. We went over this last week, and you made the point. I wonder if those 80s basketball cards are again related to Bill Walton. Last week they went up. This week they go down. And it's tough to say about someone who passed, so especially someone that iconic, but the news kind of fades out. The news cycle continues to flow on. Not as relevant in terms of the news cycle. I have to wonder if that's sort of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, well, I'm actually surprised we didn't see as much of a jump in, I believe it would be 60s era basketball cards because of, obviously, of the recent passing of Jerry West.
Yes, good
I
point.
believe his rookie card is the 1961, if I'm not mistaken. I could be totally wrong on that, but I think it's 61.
I'm not sure.
But moving into the cards that have been driving markets this past week, first up on our list of hot cards of the week is none other than the 1989 Fleer Billy Ripken F-Face card. Of course, 2024 Topps Series 2 released last Wednesday, and short print variations of a Jackson Holiday rookie card were discovered with Fun Face written on the bat knob. Multiple variations of the short print were also found, including the black box and scribble versions, as well as the sawdust scribble. But the card's been highly, highly sought after since that Topps Easter egg was discovered, but copies of the original 89 Fleer Ripken have jumped 48% in the past 7 days, up to $65 for the card in raw condition. Always a classic card, but good to see it getting some love again, Jonas.
The only thing I wrote for this, the note is, hell yeah. We went to that show a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. Evan, with all the rookie cards, with all the valuable memorabilia in that auditorium, what's the one thing that I picked out and that I loved so much?
It was the F-Face card.
It was the Billy Ripken F-Face card. You were looking at like a Tom Brady rookie. I'm like, hey, is that the F-Face card? And the guy's like, yeah, it is. And Evan goes, how'd you know that? And I say, how do you not? So it's actually funny you bring up the Jackson Holiday thing too, because look, we can only say so much about this card and what's written on it, other than go Google it yourself. But
it's in the thumbnail.
It's
in the thumbnail right over there, guys.
But with Jackson Holiday and his promotion and immediate demotion, when he got called up, you should go find the video of Billy Ripken on MLB Network talking about how the Holiday family actually reached out to him so Jackson could wear the number 7 as an Oriole, which hadn't been worn last by Cal Ripken Sr. So Billy was talking about how the Holidays reached out to their family. He talked about with Cal Jr., the Iron Man, and Jackson got to wear 7 for like a week. But it was really cool. You should go find the video. It's very heartwarming.
Yeah, I think this is really cool as well. I think Jackson Holiday obviously has the potential to be a special player in the majors one day. As we saw, he still needs probably a good year of seasoning down in the minor leagues. Disastrous start to his pro career at the show level. But outside of Jackson Holiday's first Bowman autographs, which first Bowman autographs are always considered kind of like the rookie card of baseball. It's just different in baseball. Bowman first is king in baseball. I think this short print card, it is an official rookie card, so it does have the rookie card logo on it. I think this card, the non-edited out version that will say Fun Face on the bottom, in a PSA 10, if Jackson Holiday becomes everything that we think he's going to be, I'm telling you, this will be one of his top 3 most expensive cards in existence.
Yeah.
And the big question is we don't know yet really how many of these Topps threw into this product. So we know it's short printed. In past years, I think we've come to realize that super short prints are around like 150 or so copies of the card in existence. But we have no idea, mostly because we've seen so many versions of it as well. Mm-hmm. But we're going to move forward into our second hot card of the week, driving prices north, and it is Florida Panthers goalie Sergei Bobrovsky. Over the past 7 days, his rookie 2010 Upper Deck Young Guns base card is up over 54%, with a last recorded sale of $58 for the card just the other day. Of course, his Florida Panthers leading Lord Stanley's Cup finals by a count of 3-1 over the Oilers. Bobrovsky held Draisaitl and McDavid to just 3 points through the first 3 games.
Yeah.
And just 4 goals total for the Oilers in the same span. Bobrovsky has been an absolute brick wall.
Say it.
Out of Novokuznetsk, USSR.
Well done.
I'm not reading anything.
Well done,
I'm
comrade.
talking about. But the Oilers did erupt for 8 goals and 6 points from the Big Two last night. Jonas, you're my hockey guy. I don't know a whole lot about. I really can't speak English today. But talk ice to me.
Yeah, the hockey player is one of our hot cards. Go figure. Bobrovsky probably took a little bit of a hit after last night's Game 4, in which he got pulled. But he's still the odds-on favorite and the number one candidate for the Conn Smythe Trophy, your playoffs MVP at the end of the Stanley Cup Finals. Look, he's been putting in yeoman's efforts to hold down this Oilers attack, which is potent. If they hold on, should they win, especially if he puts in another good effort to stifle the Oilers, especially in Game 5, he will win that Conn Smythe. And then the young man out of that city that you said should be shooting up in value over the next couple days.
Trivia.
Okay.
Who was the last goaltender in the NHL playoffs to win the Conn Smythe Trophy?
Well, I remember being in the building as someone won it in 2012. I just don't remember if he's the last one. So I will say Connecticut's own Jonathan Quick of the Kings. Is he the last one?
You might be right. I don't know.
Oh, okay. there probably has been someone else since then, but he put on a hell of an effort during the 2012 playoffs.
He did. And really
Now I have to
quickly,
check.
our honorable mention on Hot Cards of the Week are superstar teammates Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown of the Celtics, who unsurprisingly have seen jumps in their card markets as well. Mm-hmm. I think I said before this series started that I liked Tatum's prices more than Luka's. Mm-hmm. And surprise, surprise, Jonas, I was right.
Yeah. By the
so
way,
far, although the Celtics will probably become the first team to ever blow a 3-0 lead.
ooh, we can only hope so. Look, one of them is going to win Finals MVP, so it's just make your pick, get in there early. And yes, I found it. 2021, Andrei Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky. How do we not remember that?
I should have. That's a bad job by me.
Well, for every heater, there's a cold streak. For every Neo, an Agent Smith. And for every Venusaur, a Metapod, throwing the move Harden. I know a thing or two about that move.
Whew.
It's a kid-friendly broadcast, Evan.
That's why we said F-face earlier.
It's exactly. Anyways, here are our cold cards of the week, moving markets downward, and we start this week's segment with Dodgers two-way phenom Shohei Ohtani. His 2018 Bowman base card and PSA 10 condition down 34% in the past week. With 26 sales of the card down to around $80, the Dodgers, of course, being offensively so streaky the past couple weeks, maybe that's playing a role, although Ohtani is still having a decent week last week. 385 OBP, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, and a steal. I know you're going to talk more about the month kind of as a whole, but not sure what to really make of this one quite yet, Jonas. What are your thoughts?
It's kind of interesting, right? Because I'm not going to sit here and say Ohtani has no value anymore. You and I did have a pretty spirited conversation right before we hopped on camera. I was sitting here saying, I think Ohtani hasn't been playing very well, or at least hitting very well the last month or so. He's hitting under 200. He's striking out more than he's hitting. And it sort of has coincided with the team being basically a 500 to below 500 team over the last month or so. And as we sit here, right before you clicked record, Mookie Betts took a fastball right on his hand. So we'll have to stay tuned on that one. Look, he's struggling, as I believe. It's coinciding with the team. He did have a hamstring issue right along in this window. Maybe that's the thing. Again, though, I'm not going to sit here and say, Shohei Ohtani, no more value, get rid of those cards. No, that's just not the case.
Yeah, I think past couple weeks, it's really been more of a, Shohei, obviously for who he is and the amount of money he's making, he takes all the eyes, he takes all the eyeballs, right? Sure. It's magnified with him, especially with the Dodgers, those top 3, it's really magnified between those 3 guys. I feel like Aaron Judge has had such a massive 4 or 5 weeks, and he's up to what, 26 homers or something ridiculous?
Something like that.
26, 27 homers. I think it kind of doesn't necessarily make Ohtani look pedestrian, but it makes him look human.
Yeah.
And so, I think Ohtani will be fine. I'm with you. I don't really sell a whole lot on Ohtani. Sure, when the cards come down a bit, maybe it's time to buy a little bit. Personally, I think eventually Ohtani will not be able to do both pitching and hitting. Eventually. Who knows how he comes back next year. Maybe he pitches another 3-4 years. I think the Dodgers are really hoping that in this 10-year contract that he can pitch for at least 5 of those years.
I think that's the plan.
That is my guess. I really can't see him doing more than that. And at that point, when he officially hangs up the glove, let's call it, I think we will see a dip in Ohtani card prices at that point.
I agree.
And I think when that happens, that is the time to buy Ohtani cards if you have not gotten in already. Because if you haven't already, let's be honest, you probably can't afford to. So that's just my thoughts on it. I think Ohtani will be fine. But we're moving into our last cold card of the week, and it was a hot card just a couple weeks ago, but no surprises on this one. It's Luka Doncic and his 2018 Prism Silver rookie card in PSA condition a couple weeks ago. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago. I'm just losing my mind. This was a $2,000 card, now down 27% this week alone and over 40% over the past 2 weeks. The last sale of the card was about $1,200. I warned about it before the finals started. This card was too high going into the finals. I liked Tatum and Brown. I liked the Tatum-Brown play more than I liked the Luka-Kyrie play. I see Luka settling into the $1,000 range again into the offseason after presumably the Mavericks do lose this series to the Celtics. Jason Tatum's silver was at $1,000 going into this series and is now climbing. What are your thoughts on the 2018 Luka Doncic silver prism?
Look, what I'm learning most is that everyone seems to be a little bit reactionary. Oh, Anthony Edwards loses in the Western Conference Final for the first time ever reaching that round. Prices plummet. Luka Doncic makes the finals for the first time ever as a 5 seed, mind you. And I think we're sort of seeing why this team is a 5 seed and why no 5 seed has ever won the NBA Finals before. Oh my God. Sell, sell, sell. If you want to sell on Luka Doncic right now, be my guest. Because there's no way in heck his stock isn't going to continue to meteorically rise from here on out. The guy is still just a child in his NBA career, and sort of literally. He's an amazing player. It's easy to say this won't be the first time we see him in the NBA Finals. Obviously, injuries and circumstance always happens. But his value will only shoot up from here. If you want to get out on the Luka train at this moment, be my guest. The more for us. That's how I feel.
Well, I think this card will settle back down to about 1,000. I think it has another 20% of drop to go, especially once they're officially eliminated from contention.
Never say never.
And because this card it has kind of always hung around $1,000 for a while now. And I think $1,000 still for someone like Luka, I don't think it's a bad price. So I'm with you in that. I still would sell it right now personally at $1,200 because I know that card's going to be worth $1,000 in 3 days.
Right.
That's my thought.
I get what you're saying.
Because look, at the end of the day, it's a reactionary market. But if you have the time and you're willing to hold something for the long term, $1,000 is not a bad. It's not a horrible price to get in on a Luka PSA 10 silver, in my opinion.
It's like it's a lot, but it's like all things considered.
All things considered,
where that will end up. In all
exactly. Which, to be honest, unless you're trying to just flip stuff and make money, cash hand over fists in this hobby. That's the way you should be treating all of your investment cards, is over time.
Fair enough.
But moving on to our last segment of this week's show, where we target a card that has the potential for upward movement coming up. And this week's card to watch is San Diego Padres catching prospect, 18-year-old Ethan Salas. His cards have gotten massacred over the past 6 months as a result of the now 18-year-old hitting just 183 on the year at High A Fort Wayne with a measly 1 home run.
Yeah.
But 20 RBIs and 6 stolen bases to go along with it. Rare you see a catcher with speed. His 2023 Bowman Chrome first prospect autograph in raw condition down 55% over the past 6 months, with the last sale being just $76 for the card. This guy was just 17 years old when he was released into 2023 Bowman last year. He was the major chase in last year's Bowman product, similar to Drew Jones and the meteoric drop-off he had from 22 Bowman, or sorry, the previous year's Bowman. But we think Ethan Salas cards have the long-term investment potential we're looking for, especially at this price, $55, if time is on your side once again. But thoughts on Ethan Salas, Jonas?
Yeah, he's a 6'2", 18-year-old who's been a household name in the prospect world for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. Like you said, he was the hot chase already a year ago. But he's got some hitting issues that are popping up. You just mentioned it. He had not necessarily a cup of coffee last year in Double-A. I call it a cup of espresso because it was so short and speedy. But he really struggled. It was just 9 games in Double-A. And now the hitting struggles have continued as he's back with the Fort Wayne Tin Caps. Yeah,
Tin Caps.
In High A. 190 average. You said the 1 home run in the 52 games. He's got some long levers to figure out down there in High A. But the thing about catching is this. One, you've always got the issue or the potential issue of injury, right? He's 1 foul tip away from missing an extended period of time. But with Ethan Salas, not only have I heard good things about his ability on the field, which is obvious, he's been a top prospect now for a while as a teenager, it is his leadership ability, which is sometimes first and foremost the most important thing you hear about a young catcher, or a catcher in general. Why is Austin Barnes still in the Dodgers? The guy barely hits 100. Well, Kershaw loves him. But also, the guy is a culture captain, and you see that a lot with catchers. So he's a young man with a good head on his shoulders. He's got to figure out a lot physically, and he's got all the time in the world. I'm still very high on Ethan Salas.
Yeah, at $50 a card for this first Bowman autograph, in my opinion, if you have time on your side, I think this is a great buy at this price, personally. And I like that you talk about how important it is for a catcher to have kind of a team mentality, a bit of a leadership role. I think this gets overlooked a lot when it comes to someone like Adley Rutschman and how impressive Adley Rutschman is at such a young age. Not just considering that, hey, we have a switch-hitting catcher that can drop bombs from both sides of the plate, but he has been so mature and so well-liked throughout the clubhouse, managed his pitching staff quite well. That being said, Ethan Salas, hard to imagine, but Ethan Salas is a half a decade younger than Adley Rutschman. Maybe a little more than half a decade younger,
yeah.
which is wild, but he has all the tools to succeed. He's got the size, he's got pop in his bat, he's got a good arm, you know, he's got speed, which is very rare.
Will deteriorate
for a catcher to have.
At the beginning, it'll be important.
At least at the beginning. I mean, to say, oh yeah, my catcher's going to probably swipe 30 bags for me this year, that's pretty impressive.
No, that's crazy.
So those are our thoughts on Ethan Salas. But that'll do it for us this week on the Cardboard Critics podcast. We thank you for joining us as always. If you haven't already, make sure to enter our giveaway this week for a free blaster box of 2024 Select Basketball. Right up there, one of those 3 there. I actually don't even know if you can see that in the feed. But you can chase
It'll be in their hands eventually.
Yeah, exactly. But you can chase a Wemby rookie tiger or elephant worth thousands of dollars, all for free. All you have to do is be subscribed to the channel and comment on our free giveaway post with your favorite player. So from both of us here at the studio, I'm Mr. Hollywood. My partner in crime, that's Joe Nasty. We'll see you next time right back here at Hollywood Rips. Mr. Hollywood,